Hello and welcome to the show. We're back on Forza Horizon 4, building another vehicle to take on the hill climb stage. That car is today going to be the Renault 5. Theoretically, possibly, a car that is going to be quite quick. You're never really sure, of course, with this series. In fact, we're building cars for quite a different sort of a challenge. And, I mean, the Renault 5 has some of the characteristics that I would hope. Theoretically, should make it pretty fast up the mountain pass, but as we've seen with some vehicles before, not always quite so sure. Now, the vehicle's being built to A-Class. This does start off as a fairly low C-Class, which does give me plenty of bits and pieces to play around with. Most importantly, of course, first of all, we're going to put on some race tyres. We will get pretty big rear tyres, which is nice. 295s out the rear. Not the craziest, largest tyres we've ever seen, but pretty decent tyres. And 245s at the front as well. Not bad for such a short wheel-based car. We'll get the track width adjustment. Does give the cars a tiny little bit more in terms of stability. Makes them a tiny bit faster in Forza, basically. We will naturally, while I would love to make proper rally spec and everything, what we need is the bumper that gives us downforce. Yeah, we'll go for this. Basically, if it can give us grip, I want it for taking on the hill climb stage. It might not be much from these, but if it's something, it's, well, going to be useful. Apparently, that gives us 1 PI and slightly heavier and slightly worse, so I'm not going to bother with any of that. We could get the all-important aero improving mud flaps, the magical mud flaps. There's probably a lighter bonnet that we might grab. We'll see how we're doing PI-wise. £3 isn't all that much, but maybe we'll need that PI for something else. Let us go and drop a diff into the vehicle. I'll probably get the standard gearbox, to be honest. It should be okay for what we are doing. Gear ratios for this should be pretty okay from the get-go. Brakes, we want race brakes. Suspension, we want... Oh, you can't get drift suspension on the Renault 5. Curious. We want race suspension. Not that I'd want drift suspension, of course, but I was expecting it to at least be an option. We will want full-on roll cage, and we will go for the full weight reduction. Brings us down to £2,090. Currently at 157 horsepower. Now, we do still have quite a lot of PI to go. However, power is going to jump PI up very quickly, I would expect, in this car. We are not going to see this being crazy in terms of the power. We are probably not going to get much more than 250 if we're going to get 250 at that. We might not even get that much. Do we go for... I'll go for that stage of cams. I'll try and go for a stage of turbo. Nope. Maybe I'll go for a stage of turbo and drop it down one of the stage of cams. Oh, not quite. I might go that way around then. Go for one stage of turbo and then just make up power with the rest of these. Okay, 273 horsepower. Get another bit more out of it there. We'll go for that. Can I go for a... you know what? I can. I'm going to go for that stage flywheel. My thinking being, I'll spread the parts out. I'll go for that stage flywheel. Go for a stage drive shaft as well. I've got the diff in the car. Statistic-wise, it looks pretty good. 270 horsepower, 280 torque, 2,000 pounds, big rear tyres, short wheelbase. Statistically speaking, yeah, I think it could be fast. Not going to be Lotus fast, I wouldn't think, but there is potential. So, here we are at the bottom of the hill climb stage, where I shall have 3 attempts to try and go as quickly as possible. The current leader is the 340R at 123.6. I think our main target for this, though, will be the second fastest rear-wheel drive car, the 32 Ford Roadster at a 25.9. That is probably where we are looking at trying to beat it. If we can go faster than that, can we mix the Renault 5 in with some of the very, very quick all-wheel drive cars? In general, all-wheel drive has, I've said a few times now, been a little bit more dominant on this course than I expected it to be. We've got some early oversteer from the Renault. I'd hoped it might have enough grip, so yeah, it's a little bit more slidey than I had hoped for. I was, wished we could get away with being as aggressive with the throttle as I wanted to be through there. Not quite. However, with a little bit more caution next time around, I might be able to make it work. We're going to chuck it. Ooh, not got as much grip as I want. Well, Don't know whether I chucked it a bit wonky through there. Wasn't able to carry the speed in the way I had hoped through that section. It certainly doesn't feel like a slow car up here, but sometimes that feel can be deceptive. It's not the worst driving car. Have got to be careful with the very, very short wheelbase on this. If you do start getting it sideways, it is easy to kind of twitch it around. The good old sim steering twitch, lesser of course on Horizon 4, but can still happen if you get things a little bit wonky. I mean, I feel like it's potential for being quite quick. As a scruffy first run, there is potential for a fast time in it if I can get everything spot on. One more corner to go from the Renault 5. Accelerate towards the finish line. Okay, so 28. As I said, a scruffy opening run for the car. 21 actually not particularly quick at all. I mean, it's faster than we had from the E-Type. A scruffy opening run. A 25.9 looks a little far in the distance, but let's neaten it up and see what happens. So, we're on to the second run for the Renault, and I think the most important thing is going to be stop sliding the car around. It does move about quite a lot, and if we can minimise the time going sideways, I think that would be quite a helpful thing. Basically, it's not necessarily the easiest to manage with this car. We have seen with a few vehicles, certainly the first few corners, you do have cold tyres, and again, it's not the biggest difference in Horizon 4, but it does make a small difference, and fine little things can be the difference between a good run and a bad run. We have been neater through this first section. It's a little calmer on the throttle. It's still going to slide, still going to burst into wheel spin if you're not careful. I mean, power to weight ratio in this is still pretty damn good going. 280 horsepower in such a light car. Yeah, it's still more than enough to excite the rear wheels. We are better. I mean, it's just not quite as fast through here as we have seen from some cars. Pretty good on the exit. It feels quick accelerating. It feels like a fast accelerating car. Oh, got some understeer across that crest. Didn't get the turning point right there. However, the rest of the run so far, it's been neater, it's been tidier. We've got a few more corners to go. I can still throw it away. So we head up towards the nasty tightening hairpin. I might get away with a little brake, a little later on the brakes. Maybe not touch the gravel if we can help it. Third gear seems to be the gear of choice out of these corners. And here we go, penultimate hairpin. Quite as far, the brief glance I get at the split time is perhaps not quite as quick as I would have liked to have seen from the car, but that doesn't mean overdrive it through the final turn. There we go, the last hairpin is dealt with, run towards the line. Didn't actually quite catch what that was before we crossed, so let's find out. It's better, it is better. 126.6 is a nicer time, a better time for the car. Still got a little while to go, got over half a second if we want to get near that Ford Roadster, but much better run for the Renault 5. So we are on to the final run, the final chance for the Renault 5 to go any faster up the mountain stage. There might be a little bit of time. I think it's going to be very much pushing it. If we're going to get near that Ford Roadster, I think that had just a little bit too much. I had a little bit too much speed, a little bit too much grip almost to fight with, or for the Renault to fight with. But if I can get everything spot on, we're just about in range, if you like. The Renault 5, I can't really complain too much about it. As I said, it's a tiny bit more oversteery than you might ideally want. I want to be able to get on the throttle a little sooner out of some of these corners, but it is what it is. It can get a tiny bit twitchy, but it's not too bad at all. It's not as bad as the likes of the 205. That was unbearably twitchy in places. Again, you can see back end, that was on literally the limit of adhesion from the back of the car. This is where we've had some trouble with, in fact, lots of cars struggle with understeer over there. That's a very nice run for the Renault 5. That is pretty much spot on where I want the car to be. We'll be flat here, no problem, no questions at all in the little hatchback now. Let's not get the back end sliding around into the hairpin. Yeah, second gear. Second gear is just a tiny bit too short for any of these exits, so we're having to use third, although it does seem to be pulling pretty damn well in third, so that's working out for me. We might go down to second for this, running a tiny bit too deep perhaps to the penultimate hairpin. We'll still get away with a half decent exit, and this is the final corner. Come on, Renault, get on that power out of the last turn. What is it going to be? It's pretty good. I think that's a 25. I think it was a 25.9. I'm not quite sure what 25.9 it was. Only just, though. 125.981 is a pretty damn good time up this hill climb stage. It's a very, very crowded area of the table that the Renault is slotted into. I was perhaps just a smidge wide on those final couple of hairpins with all of that, but was very bloody fast everywhere else. It is a good car. It's a good car. It's kind of more what I was expecting. I was expecting to see the E-Type fighting around this sort of area. This is a little bit more fitting for what I would expect from the Renault 5. Yeah, good change of direction, good acceleration, good power to weight ratio. Decent brakes. It's just about as what you want from a hill climb car, really. It just works going up here. And the time is, as I said, in a very crowded area. It's actually a tie. It will join the Lotus Exige in a joint 12th place with that 25.9. Beats the BMW M1, the Lotus Esprit. It beats the Mazda MX-5, but loses out, but we are only talking fractionally here, to the HDT Commodore, the NSX, the 32 Ford. Loses out to the all-wheel drive cars like the Cayenne and the Audi Quattro. So, yeah, it's only a few tenths down on the Quattro. A good car, a very, very good car going up here. Not enough to be challenging the Lotus, certainly, but up there with the best of the best of the rear-wheel drive cars. The rest, we've kind of... The Lotus is a little bit not counting for that category. The Lotus is silly. So there we go. The Renault 5 has tackled the hill climb stage. That is going to be it for this video. If you have car requests for vehicles you would like to see tackle this rally stage, please do leave them in the comment section. The most liked request, as long as it's a vehicle that I can afford, can acquire, and fits within the class, etc., that shall be run next time out. However, this shall be it for today. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.